Hello, Peanut Peeps. How you doing today? Today's video, I want to talk about what's on my desk and what tools I use to create my videos and to edit my photos. Okay, let's get started with the heart and soul of my filmmaking editing. This will be my computer. I'm using a Mac Studio, which I bought about a year and a half ago, and it uses Apple's M1 chip. Currently, they're up to the M3 chip, which I hear is super fast. But I'm very pleased with the performance of my M1 chip. I also really enjoy that it has many ports so I could connect my external devices. In my workflow, after I bring back footage, I'll take my Delkin Black CF Express Card B and put it into the Delkin card reader. I have a 512 and a 325 gigabyte card, and they both work extremely well. I highly recommend Delkin Blacks. I will only recommend items that work well where I don't have any issues after extensive use. I've been using the Delkin Black cards with the Z9 for about a year and a half, not one issue. Also, at B&H, if you look every day, they'll run some super specials on Delkin Black cards. I'm not a sponsor of B&H, and I'm not getting anything from them, but I do mention them a few times here because, again, they'll run some great specials that sometimes are hard to find anywhere else. And if you use their PayBoo card, you get the tax you paid returned back to you, or you can choose to get a longer term financing. As you can see, I'm a big fan of B&H because I love their selection and deals. After sticking the card into the Delkin card reader, I'll copy all of the files to a folder on my Samsung T7 external SSD. Right now, I have 3 attached to the Mac. Also, I highly recommend the T7, but right now Samsung has come out with the T9, which is faster than the T7. So if you're in the market for an external SSD, I would look into that. Also, remember, to get those transfer speeds, your computer has to have the correct USB port that allows for the faster speeds. So you need to check that out. Now I'll go through my footage on the T7 and mark the files that I like and don't like. And there's usually plenty that I don't like. And I'll delete those. To make one video, I could be filming a specific subject for a couple weeks, or it could be for a few months. But once I'm complete with the shoot, I'll copy all the files to a folder on the Mac Studio on its internal SSD. The reason I do that is because editing takes a lot of computer resources, and the Mac Studio SSD is the fastest that I have available. On the back of the Mac Studio, I'm using the Ethernet port to connect to a Synology NAS. I have the 1621 XS Plus. They don't make this model anymore, but Synology makes many different models where speeds and capacity vary along with the prices. The setup that I have was about $3,300 on sale at B&H, and it includes 6 16 terabyte Seagate Iron Wolf Pro NAS drives. I'm no expert on networks, but I'll tell you what I've learned using this NAS. Number one, after buying a 96 terabyte, I'm using RAID 5, which allows for one drive to fail and the ability to recover the data. I only have 72 terabyte that is usable. So depending on how many drives you have and the RAID you use, your total storage will be reduced to compensate for this. Number two, the reason the NAS is not in this room is because the NAS itself can be noisy. The drives are not SSD, so they're moving parts. So it could be loud at times. Number three, in order to get high speeds, you need to be hardwired using an Ethernet cable that will carry those speeds. In my NAS, I have a 10 gigabyte port and 2 1 gigabyte ports. Each port, you will need to use the correct category cable that will allow you to optimize these speeds. If you use Wi-Fi, those speeds are greatly reduced. Number four, Synology has a great help desk. I did have an issue when my speeds became super slow. I got on with the help desk, who remotely connected to my NAS, and diagnosed that I had a bad network card. After I sent it back to them, they overnighted a new unit to me where I plugged it in and everything worked great again. Here, I have an external hard drive. This is a G technology, which is now under the Sandisk brand. It's a slow drive compared to an SSD. On this drive, I'll put files that I don't have to retrieve quickly, but I'll use it as a secondary storage. When I started doing video, I realized you get lots of data fast, and if it's a good day, I can get up to 200 to 500 gigabyte. So I started purchasing these G drives because they were relatively a low-cost way to store data. But I quickly realized that they are slow to transfer data. So I use these as a secondary backup where I don't need to access these files quickly. I go to them only in case of an emergency where I can't find the footage on the other faster drives. I always say 2 copies of any file that's important to me. So I do this with the combination of using the NAS, the SSDs, the Mac Studio, and the external hard drives. Do hard drives die? I've had one external hard drive stop working. It was one of the G technology drives, and it was under warranty. So I called support, sent in my drive, but I was a little disappointed when they sent me back a refurbished drive. Okay, further down this, I have a micro SD card adapter. My GoPro will use this card, and I could put it directly in the Mac, or if I'm out on the road, I'll put it in the side of the Delkin card reader. Okay, here's a Wacom tablet and a Wacom pen. I use this when I edit photos. I've been using this one for about 6 years, and it's great because when I use the pen, the pressure of the pen applies to your photo editing. Okay, here I have a blue Yeti. I use this for voicing over my videos. I bought this for under $100 on sale about 2 years ago, and it works. I see some reviewers say there are much better ones out there. So do your research if you're in the market for a mic. Back here, when I check my sound on my videos, I'll use these Beats Studio 3 headphones. It allows me to listen without hearing any background noises. And the last thing on my desk is my monitor. This is a Viewsonic 4K VP2785-4K. It's a 27-inch monitor that I bought about 5 years ago, but they have a new version now. I do love the colors and clarity of this one. I'm using Blackmagic's Disk Speed Test app to show the speed of each of my drives. I'm showing a cycle of 3 reads and writes for each drive. The Mac Studio is showing excellent results with over 5,000 megabytes a second for both read and write. I saved the path to each drive as a favorite in Finder. Here, I'm testing the Samsung T7. So the T7 is getting over 600 megabytes a second for read and write. Now, let's take a look at the Synology NAS. So the results of the Synology NAS appears faster than the T7, and it's getting close to over 900 megabytes a second for read and writes. And the last drive to test is the Sandisk G-Drive. And this drive is the slowest, just getting over 100 megabytes a second for both read and write. That's it for today. If you have any questions, send me a comment or email. See you next time, Peanut Tree Adventures. Also on my desk, this right here. Nothing to do with my computer setup, but it's Altoids. Good sometimes when I get a dry throat.